Hello, grade 7s. Welcome to your English for this week. I'm so excited to be talking to you guys. I hope you are all staying safe and washing hands as if we didn't know how to wash our hands before, but now just to be on the safe side. We're really living in some exciting times. You know that you are so privileged to be living in a century where so many things are happening. We had a moon eclipse, we had a sun eclipse, we have currently a meteor shower, and you also live in a time where you are making history. You are part of history. You will forever be able to say, when I was in grade 7, we had the coronavirus and we had to be in lockdown and we couldn't go to school for so many weeks, and how much fun that was and what you did. So be thankful for this time and that you have the privilege of being a part of history. Just imagine what we would have done if we did not have technology. In the old days, when it was the big flu, in the, 1900s, 1902, I can't remember what was the date, they didn't have the technology that we have nowadays. So if they couldn't go to school, they just did not learn. So imagine how privileged you are to be able to still learn. So from Mrs. Lawrence and myself, we are going to teach you a little bit with the new technology that we have. I hope you enjoy. Keep well and be diligent in your work. Okay, so let's start with work from last week and just recap what you have done. You started with finite and infinite verbs, which the explanation was there, so that's easy. Then you had some types of sentences. So let's just refresh your memory there. A simple sentence is a sentence with a subject, a verb, and an object. Subject can be a compound subject, in other words, something like Yanni and Piti, but it's still one subject. The verb is the doing word and the object. The subject of the sentence is the thing doing the action, the verb, and the object is the thing receiving the verb. Okay, a compound sentence, two sentences joined by a conjunction. Quickly refresh my memory. What is a conjunction again? A conjunction is a word that joins the two sentences together. And, but, because, also, when, if, those are all conjunctions. They are used to put the two sentences together. Have a look in your work. I've explained it all there. Which ones consist then of a compound sentence and which makes it a complex sentence. A complex sentence is a main sentence with an add-on. Also, some of the conjunctions are used there, but check and see in your book which ones are used. Okay, so then we move on to synonyms and antonyms. This is old work, nothing new. Synonyms, words with almost the same meaning. Antonyms, words with opposite meaning, like the picture. Tall and short, which is not the short is not the good one, but also big and tall or small. You can use different words. You will see in your memo that you will receive next week. I've given you some options here. Also, I've given you grade 7 words. The ones that they use are not that difficult. That's why I've given you grade 7 words. Okay, so here you had to write a story. Yours is only a paragraph. I know that for Afrikaans, you have to write a whole narrative story. Now, what is a narrative? A narrative is a story. Who is then the narrator? The narrator of a story is the person who wrote the story. What is a story? A story is something that is not true. It's something that you make up. Now, there are certain elements that you have to bear in mind, and Mrs. Latergan explained it very well. You have to keep it interesting so that people will want to read your story. Our topics are different, but it works exactly the same as in your Afrikaans. You have to have some conflict, You have to have a setting, in other words, where it takes place. It has to work up to a climax and then the end of your story. You only have to write one paragraph, so there's no need for you to make a mind map, to start with a mind map, but it's always a good idea to start with a rough draft, and from there, then organize your paragraph. Also for you in this story, you have to write or you have to underline the words that you have used in past tense. Remember, a story is always written in the past tense because it's something that has already happened. Please do not forget a title for your story. That is almost the most important part for us in this section. Now from the narrative, we move on to our child in darkness. You all should have a child in darkness. There's an assignment also on this, but what is important is that you read this book. You should be more or less busy with chapter 9 or chapter 10. I do not teach all the classes, so I'm not sure where you are, but if you're not yet busy with chapter 9 or 10, then you should really start reading. You can also finish the book if you want to, because you are going to write an exam, but this one will be an open book exam, which means that you will have the book with you when you write exam. It will be questions not specific like what is the color of his t-shirt. It will be more general questions like what did he do? I'm trying to think of a question quickly. What did he do to lure the creature out of the cave? Things like that. But while you read, make notes, highlight the things that you think are important in that specific chapter. It makes it easier when you write exam to find the answers again. Exam, you may use the book and you can have it with you when you write the test. Please make sure that you complete this part, as this is going to count for marks. This is your SBA, your school-based assessment. Seeing that we are not at school and we can't write tests, we are going to use this as your assessment. Now each one's going to be different because I don't know which chapter you are going to do. So just follow the instructions, the characters that appear in here. Obviously it will be Nicholas. Nicholas is our main character, his mom and his dad, and you will see that the story develops. They've also given us an indication of the creature. We don't know yet. I think my classes already have come to the point where we know what the creature inside the cave looks like, and it develops, the story develops from chapter 10 very quickly. And the end, you can almost decide how you want the story to end. It leaves it, it's an open-ended story. This book is also an example of a fiction, a narrative. In other words, it's a story. It's not true. It's something that someone or the author thought of and then just wrote a story about around those facts. But please, 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 I beg you guys, read your book, because we will not have time in class to finish this, and you are going to write exam about this book. Make notes as you go along. Okay, so then we get to this week's work, and we start with literal and figurative speech. I think we've also done this somewhere this year already. Literal and figurative speech, the difference between the two. Literal is, it means that it happens actually. It's a real thing that happens. If I say, let's chill. Now in the top picture you can see literally it means we're going to go to the fridge and we're going to chill. Chill means it's cold. So we're going to go to the fridge and get in there so that we can chill. Figuratively means it's a way of talking. If I say, let's chill, then it means once you are done with all your English work, you can go and relax, and then you chill. So do you see the difference between literal and figurative speech? Now we have a nice one, punctuation. And as you'll see, we don't do punctuation the way that you've done it in the previous grades. We do it with a little bit of a difference. Now, I've also given you examples here of how important punctuation is. Now, if I have a look at the first one, look before you throw. Workers below is totally different than look before you throw workers below. Without the punctuation, it means you're going to throw the workers who are below you. But with punctuation, it means be careful. There are workers below you so that you don't throw them. The second one, I don't think I'm fun, is not the same as I don't think I'm fun. Can you hear the difference between the two? We're going to learn to cut and paste kids, which literally means that you're going to take the kids, cut them up and paste them. But with punctuation it becomes, we're going to learn to cut and paste kids, something quite different. Let's eat, Grandma. So, we're physically going to cut Grandma, poor old Grandma, up and have her for dinner. Or, with punctuation, it becomes, let's eat, Grandma. So you're inviting her to come and join in the dinner. The last one, I love baking my family and my friends. Well, in this time that we have a lot of time, I can imagine that you enjoy baking your family and your friends. Sometimes I also want to bake the people in my house. But with punctuation, it becomes, I love baking my family and my friends. Now, can you see why punctuation is so important? You have a few sentences where you have to put in the correct punctuation. Oh, and poetry is my favorite part, but I know you boys don't really like the poetry. The poem that you have, please read through the poem first so that you know what the poem is about. This picture should also give you an indication or help you as to what the poem is about. Then go and dissect the poem. Take each chapter, each line, each stanza, and go and look for the meaning behind the words. I've only given you now the first stanza. What is a stanza again? A stanza is like a little chapter of in poetry. Each stanza has lines. That's easy. So I've only given you the first stanza. Don't say you saw a bird. You saw a swallow, or a great horned owl, a hawk, or oriole. Now, the words in red are all different kinds of birds. Don't just tell that he flew. That's what any bird can do. Say, he darted, circled, swooped, or lifted in the blue. Now, the words in blue again are all words describing the action. Now, this whole poem is about descriptive words, adjectives that you use to color in a picture. If you've read the poem, you should have a nice picture in your mind about this, about the author and what she's trying to describe to you. Now, the author's name is Marie Applegate, and she is the poet. When you look at the poem, think about the questions at the bottom. Who is speaking? Who is saying this poem? To whom is this poem? What is the whole point of the poem? Is it a lyrical or a narrative poem? Now, a lyrical poem is, this one is a lyrical poem. It describes a picture. It paints a picture with words. Narrative poem is a story. Again, you know what is a narrative? You've written one. Descriptive passages, a lot of them. Go and have a look. The senses, she uses a lot of the senses. What are your senses? Your smell, your sight, your hearing, your feeling, all of those. Also have a look at the rhyme scheme. I've also put it in blue. Is it blue or green? I can't see. For you, the rhyme is A, B, C, C, C. Okay, So be careful, all the stanzas are not the same, so the rhyme may differ. Alliteration, Betty Butter bought some batter. So the letter at the beginning of the word rhyming. Assonance, where the vowel rhymes. Also important to know, and I'm quickly refreshing your memory, a simile, when you compare things by using like or as. Metaphor, the same thing, but without using the words like or as, when you say it is, and there is an example of a metaphor also. Personification, where you give a human quality to something that is not human, also there is an example. I did not ask it, but if you can find it, it's a good thing. And then the last one, onomatopoeia. We've done that a lot, onomatopoeia, words imitating a sound, and there's quite a few of them in this poem as well. So now we end the week with 2 fun exercises. I've given you an exercise about the coronavirus. While you are now in your homes and you can't go out, have an interview with your parents. See what they think about what is happening. And then I also want, I think the second one is about you. Give me an honest opinion about what you think and what you feel. Then next week, I want you to keep a diary. Now, a diary has a certain format, but I'll explain everything to you next week. Guys, I hope you are well. Please be diligent in your work. When we go back to school, we have to start with all the work, and when you've done this work, you'll be fine. I have no worries about the fact that we are losing time, because I know and I trust you guys are working very hard at home. Thank you for doing your best, and have fun.